I want to say thank you all for coming here, and at this point in the program I would like to open it up to any questions you might have, because we would like to hear what you think and kind of your circumstances. So thank you very much for your patience in being here. Thank you for your enthusiasm for the speakers, and now let us hear from you, and our speakers are here to answer any questions you might have. Yes.
Nobody mentioned the fact that the employers of the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory were never punished. They were never fined. They were brought up on charges of manslaughter. 146 people killed because they had the doors locked to keep the union organizers from coming into the factory to talk to the workers. It was thrown out, and they just walked away free and clear. That's a horrible disgrace. Thank you.
Well, I just want to say I'm glad you mention it, because too often these unscrupulous employers do get off. And when you look at today, you know, wage theft is not a crime that sends people into any kind of major punishment. So, you know, a worker stealing a spool of thread or whatever is stealing from the factory, but the employer stealing their wages or locking the door and subjecting them to that got off. It's not fair.
And to fill in a little bit on the detail there, what happened was there was a criminal trial, but the prosecutors needed to prove that they knew that the door was locked, and they were not able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And Rose, I think it was an all-male jury. Is that correct? So an all-male jury, 1911, 1912, the cards were stacked against these women. There was a civil trial. They were eventually, they did lose in the civil trial. They had received $60,000, I believe, is the sum total insurance payment. They then had to pay $75 per victim, and this was about 3 years later. So it's like $75 for the loss of human life under those circumstances, and then a couple of years later, they did indeed relock the doors. There was a fine against one of the owners who had started a factory again. He had locked the doors again, and so the process continued. He certainly did not learn from that, and as you wisely pointed out, they were never brought to justice for that. So what we have to take away from it was the fact that in the long term, we had stronger unionization, we got the state rules refined and that sort of thing, so that something was accomplished, but not because of justice to the employers. 17 of them were men. And were they cutters or were they management? A variety of different jobs, but 17 of them, I didn't know it was that few, 17 of them were male victims, so it was not 100% female. It's still a terrible tragedy either way. Do I have any other questions there? Yes.
Yes, I'd like to make a comment. About 48 years ago, I met a man who was a feminist. And he's sitting behind me. I married him. His name is David Wells, and he was an associate director of the IOGWU. And one of the things that I found very thrilling was that was a union that had social policies, that taught women that politics was not a dirty word. It was really important that they understood the issues, and the issues were affecting them every day of their life. And so I remember looking at his work and I'd say, why are you saying this legislation is right or wrong? Give people a choice. He said, no, some of these things are wrong and they have to fight against it and understand why they're wrong. And it was a very exciting time. And I have to say, May, that was before 1982, when the IOG was holding all kinds of classes to teach women about politics and other issues that were important in their life.
Identify IOG.
The International Ladies Garment Workers Union. And you may remember there used to be a song.
Don't sing it.
I won't sing it.
Hi, I'm a member of the Retiree Advocate Caucus of the United Federation of Teachers, and I've been very much concerned about all the bashing of teachers and teacher unions and blaming the teachers and the teacher unions for all the ills of the school. And you know, there's this rush towards privatization in charter schools and totally screwing the public school system.
Thank you for raising that. I mean, you know, we live in a university system right now where at Hunter, 60% of those that teach, the 23,000 students who go here, are contingent. That means adjunct without security, without sort of, you know, secure healthcare and all of that. And that is something that we really need to talk about. Neoliberalism and the ways in which employers work are, you know, and all of us, and the ways in which we are all subject to certain kinds of systems of exploitation needs to be understood in this large term. So I really applaud this sense of widening the way in which we're thinking about labor to include issues of education is part of it. But it's also that while our battle is also about saying that we need to include people who are contingent, we also want to talk about widening the scope of understanding that education and the value of that has diminished considerably in the ways in which we value what is understood as good work or as work that needs to be valued or whatever. And that's something that's part of our own battle. Teachers and professors who do work and value it. I love my job, partly because I love the students who work here, but that job is undervalued compared to a lot of other kinds of things. And it's something that's part of our battle. But thank you for bringing that up.
Pardon, but I have to run up to my class, but thank you for being here. And I may almost sound like a heretic. One of my early heroes as an advocate for women was a woman by the name of Emma Goldman. And actually, a lot of people have never heard of her. And, you know, I always got a kick because she's from New York, actually from St. Petersburg, Russia, and New York, and got involved in a lot of things. But we're talking about the 1900s, was advocating for safe procedures for women, GYN procedures, birth control, etc. And she was locked up on what was Blackwell Island, which is today Roosevelt Island. And they used to do a roundup of the women of the night. And her comment was, it should not only be the women of the night, but the Johns should be brought in there first. So, very good point. Anyhow, here's the question. Been on PBS and other places about the violence, especially the sexual violence to women that's going on in Central America and other countries. And with all the outsourcing that's going out of, you know, garments being cut and sewed in different places and reassembled, I'm wondering if there's anywhere in your committee or in the state committee for a way of trying to curb this or deal with this. Thank you.
And I think I'll turn to May and Allison on that. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, as the garment industry has become globalized, I think it's important for labor and women and community advocates to also take their work global and to really support the struggles of those workers in Central America. I don't have any real specific examples, except that I know that my union for quite a long time, and I mean David is here and can probably attest to this, has had global relations with unions and other workplace organizations. And you know, we have heard the horror stories. And I want to just give a last plug, if we're going to end soon, for the Triangle Fire activities, because there is a woman labor advocate from Bangladesh who fought against really a terrible factory fires and women's issues and organizing there, that is coming to speak at conferences at FIT, at CUNY, and will be a speaker at the actual rally on March 25th. And so the issue of globalization and global solidarity and friendship with women workers, and this is International Women's Day after all, is definitely on all of our agendas, and we should be fighting globally on these issues.
I will say that the work that we do is mostly on a state level, but we have, you know, the opinion that a violation that happens anywhere in the world happens for everybody. So what we do on the subcommittee is we try and promote awareness on these issues, and I would suggest contacting the Congress members and try and create a much bigger campaign. And if you want to talk about this after and what we could do to work on this, I'd be very happy to talk to you.
Which is actually an excellent reminder, Allison, that we all have in the power to write to our congresspeople, and our congresspeople are there to represent us. So whatever your issues are on any of the topics discussed tonight or any other subject that comes to mind, it's certainly worth sitting down and sending an email or making a phone call, because the phone calls are also registered. So speak up, because it's our American right and our American obligation as well. Now, if we have any more questions, we're happy to stay, and if not, I would recommend that everybody be sure to pick up one of the brochures for the activities that are going on all month, because this is one of many, many things that the Remember the Triangle Coalition is sponsoring. We also will put in one final plug for the Women's eNews. If you've got a couple of extra bucks to put in the basket, we appreciate it. It's what lets us continue to serve the online community and report on women's news internationally. So anything you can do is helpful. But if there are any other questions, please speak up. And if not, thank you all so much for coming tonight. We really appreciate it.